Hello, Happy New Year. My name's Lewis. I'm from Underpin Consultants. We are a change and growth consultancy, and we help businesses, big and small, to grow and live more positive lives, whether that be through being a good business owner or doing good for the world with charities and public sector organisations. Today, we're going to kick off with the same thing that almost everybody's doing. There's been at least 2 or 3 articles on The Guardian over the last couple of days about whether 2025 is a good time to start your business in the UK. If we look at it in isolation, then the answer is always maybe, which doesn't help anybody. But what we're going to do today is just going to try and give you a little bit of understanding about the differences between employed versus running your own business. Should I be self-employed versus limited company? And then some hard truths about what we call Underpin the plunge, which is where you go from being employed, turning up to work every day, doing what somebody else tells you to do, to being self-employed or be running your own business, and what the money, time, effort, and more importantly, sanity of all that really looks like. So that's what we're going to do today. The reason why a lot of people are talking about this at the moment is something called the Great Resignation 2.0, which is a very nice, handy public relations, want to get in the newspaper kind of name for something. But the Great Resignation was during the original COVID pandemic, and a lot of people decided that they didn't really like traveling an hour and a half or 2 hours into work anymore, or they didn't like being told what to do, or they don't felt that they were getting value and pay, and a lot of people resigned. Many of those people went into other paid work, but some of them went into self-employed. There's a stat out there at the moment that says that 46% of employees globally want to quit their job in 2025. That's great. I mean, a lot of people are very happy in their jobs, and a lot of people are want to leave. And the reason why they want to leave is a multitude of different things. It could be everything from they don't like their boss, they don't like the kind of work they do, they think they should get paid more, to they have a general issue with how work works. So they need to attend a job at a place, and they may have childcare or other responsibilities, or elder care that they need to look at. And so the flexibility of running your own business and setting your own hours can be really positive for those kinds of people. It's a lot of culture myths out there, and today we're going to talk about some practical steps about how we do that. So, what are the benefits of quitting your job and starting your own business? And we're going to start with the benefits, but don't worry, we're going to do the challenges too. So, a lot of people think that when you're looking at running your own business, the main things are flexibility, where are you working? Flexibility, potentially better pay, and no one gets to say freedom. A lot of people turn around to me and say they want freedom. What does freedom mean? It means freedom being told what to do, freedom to do whatever you want, to say what you want, to do what you want. And that can be really positive. The flexibility is good, so you get to now set your own hours. If you want to work 18 hours a day, you can. If you want to work 3 hours a day, you can. If you want better pay, you can usually charge. So, for example, if I was looking for a PR person and I wanted to charge them as an employee, for a good PR person, you're probably looking at around £40,000 per year. Cost to me is roughly around £21 to £22 per hour for a 35-hour a week, 52-week a year job. But if I was to hire a freelancer, I would expect to pay 40, 45, potentially even more pounds per hour. And so for the freelancer, that's great because you're getting paid double, but we will get into why that's not actually the case in a little while. And then freedom. So I've always described it as the old school 1960s television show, The Twilight Zone. And the way The Twilight Zone used to work was they'd usually give you something you really wanted. And like, oh, I want all the time in the world to read all the books. And so someone grants the person a wish and they get to, the world ends. There's nobody else there. He goes to the library. He's got loads of books, but oh no, his glasses break and he can't read the writing anymore. Ugh, horror story. There's a little bit of that with freedom. So with freedom, you get to, yeah, sure, no one gets to tell you what to do. But with freedom comes some of the challenges. So yes, you get to say what you want to. You can do what you want. You can take the jobs that you need, but you are now reliant on yourself to deliver the things, the better pay, and the flexibility that you need. There's no turning up at 9, no going home at 5. No one gives you any work. That's what you've got to do. So the positives are really good, but the challenges are higher. So let's get rid of these for now. And let's talk about the negatives or the challenges. So inconsistent. What else have we got? We've got not paid, and that comes in different ways. We've got taxes, not bigger taxes, not smaller taxes, just taxes, and benefits. So working for yourself is great, but it can be inconsistent. For example, there are months last year where we as a company billed 4 or 5 times more than we did in other months. So if you are a business and you are an ice cream man, you're gonna make a lot more money in the summer than you are in the winter. If you're a Christmas tree seller, you're gonna make a lot more money in the winter. But even a consultancy, we'll have lots of works on in June, but no work on in August. And over the year, we make enough money to pay everyone, and including myself, to do what we need to do. But that inconsistency can be a struggle, and it can be the biggest struggle at the start because for most people, unless you've been working on a quote side hustle for a while, that inconsistency starts from zero. So you're not making that money. So one of the things you need to look at, and this is a big thing for 2025, is how many months of money do you have to go? What's your runway before you need to take off and fly? Do you have 1 month's worth of savings, 2 months worth of savings, 6 months worth of savings, no months of savings? I usually say somewhere between 3 and 6 months of money set aside to pay your mortgage and your bills. If you have someone, a partner that is helpful and understanding, that's great. But overall, you need to pay your bills, and there will be a dip in your wages. I don't think anyone in the history of the world has quit a job and immediately been starting to make more money than they were making before, unless they'd already started the business. The second thing is a lot of work you do is not paid. So every time I put in a tender, every time I put in a quote, a lot of the initial meetings and the little initial pitches, all the times I'm doing my taxes, which we'll come on to, and my other work that I do, it's not paid. So when I do get paid, and I get paid X pounds an hour to do the work that I do, I'm not getting paid for every hour that I work. For example, today I've been paid. So far today, I've been paid for 2 of the 4.5 hours that I have worked so far today. And so that is something you need to factor in, that unlike when you're employed, where you turn up at 9 and 5, you're paid £15 an hour, £16 an hour, and you get paid that every time. That's not how it works for a business. Taxes. So the way taxes work is when you are employed, your taxes are paid before you get paid. So when you get your pay slip, it'll say, we took your tax, we took your national insurance, and it's your employer's responsibility to pay those taxes. When you are a self-employed and limited, and we'll go through that in a minute, you will pay your taxes directly. For example, my accountant has just sent me my accounts for the year. I have to pay thousands of pounds to the government in corporation tax. I have to pay money on income tax, and none of that is taken away. I have to put that aside as you go. And then benefits, I have to pay into my own pension. No one pays into that pension for me. I don't get a company car. I have to pay for the company car because I am my own business and I run the business, and so that's benefits. Paid time off. I want to go to the dentist. I don't get paid. If I need to go on holiday, I don't get paid. I don't get paid leave at all as a business owner. And whether you're self-employed or limited, that is one of those things that you have to think about as well. So, and we will get to the question, should you? But at the moment, what we want to talk about is what's the actual practicality of doing it? And also, what do you want? So, when people are employed, there's usually a hierarchy. So you'll start off as an assistant, you might go to an officer, then you might be a manager, and eventually you might be a director. That may or may not happen. That is a standard thing. And for each point you probably get paid slightly more, you may get slightly more benefits, but you may be expected to work more. That is something that a lot of people understand as a employment track. But with a business, you get to decide that. All of a sudden, you're in charge of everything and everyone. If you want to employ more people, you're in charge of them too. You've got to decide what they want to do, but no one's telling you what to do. There's no plan and strategy unless you create one yourself. A big thing about, and this is a huge misconception. Setting aside the money that you get at the end of every month by being employed, you are no safer in employment than you are in a limited company. Someone can come to you at any point when you're employed and say, sorry, this isn't working, or we're downsizing the business, or I'm selling the business and you're not needed anymore, and you can be made redundant. And yes, you will get a small amount of money for that. If you've been working for more than 2 years, if you've been working for less than 2 years, there's no payout. And so that's what I would try and say the biggest one is you are not as safe in employment as you think. And therefore, this idea that, taking a risk on a business and that can be really helpful if you're the right kind of mindset. But what you need to do is, if you want to genuinely start your own business and you want to look at what are the different options for you, then the thing that we need to look at first is the difference between, and these are big words, we're going to do something else first. So we are going to have a look at how you decide what your business, whether you should start your own business. And the first thing is ethics, and then stability. There we go. Stability and risk. If you've got an amazing idea, okay, but you have no ethics and you're willing to lie, beg, and steal how to do it, then starting a business can be really good because a lot of people won't let you do that in your business. If you value stability, then employed can be quite good. But if you want to create your own stability, then business is the right thing to do. And the risk is that you put all of this money, you save up, you launch your business, and it doesn't work. So one of the things that you need to look at is how viable is the business. And we've actually gone through that already. So if you have a look back on our YouTube streams, you will see that we've gone through how viable is your business. If you've got a good idea, you've spoken to friends, you've spoken to other people, you've gained all of those customer feedback, you know how it works, you've written down a plan, you've looked at the costs, you know you can make money from it, and you understand the risks of starting the business. That doesn't necessarily mean you need £1 million to get started, but you know that you need this much at this point, and you need to deliver the product at a certain point, and this is what you need to develop the product. And once you have the product, you can start selling it, and there's people who genuinely want it. That is viability. And so rather than just saying, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start a business, but I don't know why, for me, that would be incredibly scary. When I started my business, I knew I had the capacity and the capability to help other companies. At the time, we were doing marketing and business development. Now we do change and growth. But it was the idea that I had expertise that people would pay for. And I went and asked, and we had a couple of contracts, and we've grown the business from there. That's how it works. So what we're going to do now is, once you've said, okay, I'm going to start my business, I'm going to look at how I actually register for a business. And there's two ways of doing it, okay? You can either be self-employed or limited. What this means is really simple and very complicated. So, self-employed means you are the business, okay? There's no structure around you. You can't hire anybody. You can't claim you are a big business. What you are is a person who provides a service. So you pay a certain type of tax. You pay income tax like you do now. You pay class 2 and class 4 national insurance. And you are personally responsible for anything that goes wrong. So that's debts and losses. You can't sign up for a business pension. You can only sign up for a personal pension. You are liable for debts. So the way that works is, if you go into debt, there's no company to take that debt on. You are self-employed. You are also personally liable. So if you don't have insurance, which everybody should have, but even if you do have insurance, if you do a bad job as a self-employed person, then they can come after you personally because you're not protected by any legal entity, which is a company. You can claim expenses exclusively for business purposes, or a percentage of shared expenses. You are the only person who owns that business. You can't be in partnership with anybody else. You keep all profits after tax. But a good benefit is if you're self-employed, you probably don't need an accountant. You can have an accountant, but you don't need an accountant. And it's a simple form. You don't have to do anything particularly difficult. And they're easy to start, easy to adapt. And it's a good way to begin and say, want to start earning some money. If you earn more than £1,000, so if someone gives you more than £1,000, you have to register as self-employed with the government, and you have to do that as soon as possible. But you are simple. It's ideal for small, but it's slightly risky. Your limited company is different. So your limited company is a separate legal entity from you as a person. You have directors of the company, so they are people who have an investment in the business. You can be an employee and you can be a director. You can have one director and be an employee. That's fine. But it is a legal entity that's called, for example, Underpin Consultants Limited or Bob's Flowers Limited, and you'll see this all the time. You pay tax in a different way. You still pay as an employee or as someone who receives a salary, you still pay national insurance and income tax. But you pay something called corporation tax, which is taxed up to £50,000, I believe, at 19%, and you pay national insurance on salaries. It's different. It's limited liability. So in America and actually in the UK, you have something called an LLP sometimes, and that's a limited liability partnership. And what that does is it protects your personal assets from fraud. Sorry, no, from someone coming and taking it for you. So if someone says you've done damage to my company, your marketing plan, or you broke some flags. If you're self-employed, then you are the one that is personally responsible for that. But unless you have committed fraud or some other kind of legal crime or misconduct, then the company is liable for the damage and the debt. And you personally, so they can't come after your house, they can't come after your car, they can't come after personal assets. You're eligible for company pension schemes. You are, you're not attacked by legal disputes. You can have multiple people owning it. You can hire people, pay them. You can withdraw profits through both salaries and dividends. And it's I believe, unless you are a small individual person that's doing something relatively simple, for example, hairdresser or something like that. And I don't mean simple as in, I mean simple as in the transaction. So you pay someone, you do the work. You're a contractor, you do the contract work. I would always set up a limited company. It's not that difficult to do. The major outlay of a limited company is the fact that you will probably need an accountant to do it. And so that's also an interesting thing that needs to be looked at. So my honest opinion is if you have a sustainable idea that you think is the right thing for you, and you're sick of being told what to do, which is the way to be fair, the main motivators for me to start my limited company 6 years ago now was a couple. One, I wanted to spend more time with my son. Two, I wanted to be able to be around to help with that and to have flexibility. But mostly, I had come to a point where I wanted to help in a more direct way. And nobody on earth wants an employee that is coming up with constant ideas and wanting to shake, rattle, and roll the company. A company employs an employee to do a job mostly, and they want that job done. And if that job's done, they will pay them. And if they're given bonuses, they will give bonuses. You're the kind of person who's always wanted to spread their wings and is constantly feeling like they're being hemmed in and hampered in. Then you might be the kind of person who wants to start a business in 2025. And if you do, there are tons and tons of organizations out there that will help you. One of them is Underpin Consultants. But what I would suggest you do is your local area. So around here in where I live in Huntingdonshire County Council, the local authority, the combined authority, they all have programs to get you up to speed. And I've actually delivered those programs. And you'll see some of the work that I've done on those programs in other videos and this video that's been done. You need to have a plan. You can't walk into this. And the way you have a plan is by looking at what you want to achieve, what's your mission, what are your values, is there a viable business there, will people buy your products? The appeal is great, and the reality is different than what most people think. But there are millions of people out there who do self-employed and limited, and it's right for them. And there are even more people who stay in a job, go find a new job, and also that is perfectly fine for them too. Understanding that you are an individual and you have individual wants and individual needs, and that they are the right thing for you, that's good. Because if you just do what everybody else does, if someone comes to you and says, I've got this plan, it's going to work, it's going to be great, you'll notice that I've not said, if you do X, Y, and Z, you will be able to start your business. Because I don't know you. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you stand for. I don't know what business you're trying to do. And anyone who tries to put you on a track like a train and push you in a certain direction, you're going to want to leave that train. And eventually, you're going to feel exactly like you did when you were employed. So, practical steps for deciding if 2025 is the right time for you. 1, it is never the perfect time to do something. 2025 is no different. Lots of uncertainties. If you want to be an international company, there's things about, the tariffs. There's increased national insurance contributions. There's potentially a recession. Lots of things like that are worth considering. But if you go back in every single year, from now till the dawn of time, there has been something that has stopped someone from doing it. And you need to evaluate it independently. If it's the right time for you, it's the right time for you. 2025 is no different than 2024, is no different than 1987, is no different than 1964. In the way that you need to evaluate whether the customers want what you are giving them and whether there is a market out there for what it is that you do. That's it. And once you've done that, you can look online, you can reach out to your local authority. There's business programs, there's setup programs. You can, we offer free consultations. Other organizations offer free consultations. Research, research, research. That's what I would say. If you'd like more specific information, I have a book called The 5-Step Marketing Plan. It has lots of really good information. There's links in this description that you can contact me and get a copy of that. I hope this has been useful. I hope going through this has been helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and we can answer them in a future video. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.